The stock that is about to break out, in my opinion, the stock is the 49% owner of ChatGPT. You can't buy ChatGPT, OpenAI that is, on the public market. The valuation is over 300 billion, approaching 500 billion. The stock that owns ChatGPT, 49% of it, is Microsoft MSFT. Who would have thought we'd be talking about Microsoft as the technological innovation leader in 2025, but they absolutely proved us wrong with Azure, and now they're proving us wrong again with the biggest user of Azure, so their cloud database. So let's take a look at that stock. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that down below wherever that is, and let's get going.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
We do have some recent results in our Discord as well. Check out that one right there. That is just in the last few weeks. And then also over here, this is literally verbatim from the Discord right there. And that's a pretty good result. Pause your screen, take a look at that. And now we'll get in. Okay, so here is a little info on Microsoft, recent news. But for people who aren't too concerned with the minutia of, agentic AI and the vision for this dinosaur company to take over the world by owning OpenAI. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? Let's just jump into the chart a little bit, okay? Which is how we found this opportunity in the first place. It's basically gone sideways for a while, okay? I know we're in library mode, being quiet here, but I'll try to get excited about this company that moves 1% a day. For those people that like a safe opportunity, this is it, okay? If you can only lose 1%, that's pretty safe. Now, is it a good time to get in? Well, it's basing. It did have this down move on the 5th. If we go over here and zoom in, double click, as Satya Nadella might say, on the 5th. Well, I can double click in a second, but the real point is that besides that move, Microsoft hasn't really had any major concerns, so that's positive. We'll get to that, but this thing's been going sideways and it's holding these compressed days. The moving average is sort of aligned. Specifically, this is the 50-day. This is the 20. And why this is interesting was as the 20 gets above the 50-day, the 5 gets above the 10, which it is right now, they're going to start to unravel and this thing's going to start to go up. You don't have to know what color is what. You can just trust me on that basically all these lines are together. And when that happens, this thing can go up, okay? And we can sort of look at that here. You can see how all the lines start to come together. They get really compressed and then boom. And this is great because you can sell half your position when you're up 5-10%. And then if you have a downward move, you can sell the other half and you just made a bunch of money while only risking, 1%, which might be, $5 on a company like this, $3 to $5, maybe a little less. You do you as far as your risk, but the whole point is that when those lines come together, which is just another way to give an indication of what we're seeing on the chart, which is that you can see how tight it's getting, how here it was kind of loosey-goosey, to say it in a silly way, but professionals would say now this tight volume compressing action with a tapering of volume is looking like it's going to create a move to the upside. When there's not much volume, it means there's not much sellers. You see how there was a lot of volume here? That was a lot of sellers, okay? There was a lot of buyers here, okay? But you get the idea. Little volume means not a lot of sellers, maybe not a lot of buyers as well, but eventually when these lines come together, we create sort of a flag, and when a flag gets created, moving averages come together, price movement gets established, in this case to the upside, and you can see how sometimes those just go absolutely bananas. Okay, sometimes they come back down a little bit and you have to sell some. You can see it actually did test here. So maybe you take 50% of your win here, you hold 50, and then you have to sell it here, and you only made like 15% or whatever. Okay, but maybe you hold the other half and you make an aggregate like 30-40%, which is pretty insane. Okay, so that's what we're trying to achieve here. This moves about 1% a day as an average of the last 10 days, so that's why it's such a safe entry. Now, we're 5 minutes in. We still haven't talked about what the company does, but it's Microsoft, so forgive me, right? This is their Copilot AI, which you've probably seen. They own GitHub. They own half of OpenAI. They're basically an AI monster, okay? Even though we associate them with, being a dinosaur in the computing world. We don't have to worry about this too much, okay? This computer I'm recording on, this is literally on Windows 10. So all this is pretty much fine. In terms of risk factors, this is the most interesting given that OpenAI is such an unknown valuation. So as of April, okay, see this is the number 500 billion when they raised that additional 6 billion. So they increased in like just a handful of months their valuation by like 60%, which is insane. Plus their revenue, 12 billion annualized. And it's not like hey, we did revenue for a week and then we multiplied it by 52. It's like, no, by half of the year, they're at like 6 billion revenue. Okay, which is up 3 times since last year, which is insane because again, we're in the billions. So of course, there is this cash burn, okay? But this is basically when everyone gets asked this question, like, is it a bubble? They're burning money. It's not a profitable company. It's like, well, look around at everyone else on the table and say, are people going to stop buying this company? And the answer seems to be no at this point. So as long as Microsoft owns this 49% stake, they basically increased their market cap by 250 billion if OpenAI is worth 500 billion. So that's the bull case for Microsoft. NVIDIA did recently invest in OpenAI. CoreWeave is sort of the underbelly for OpenAI. They also have a bunch of debt, 10 billion of debt. So OpenAI is sort of the story for Microsoft right now. Oracle is also in the mix as well. This is the tension, right? If OpenAI can be less reliant on Microsoft, then eventually Microsoft could just buy out OpenAI's stake, and then OpenAI could be free from Microsoft. But that's only tenable if OpenAI's actual valuation extends to like, $1 trillion or more, because they have to find the 250 billion to pay Microsoft to, buy them out. So it's a crazy scenario, and we don't have to think too far into the future. All we really have to say is that all these companies are battling it out. They're all paying NVIDIA, which is why NVIDIA is the most valuable company, even though it only has 4 customers. Basically, these are the customers. I mean, they're unnamed, but it's pretty clear these are the customers. Maybe Tesla as well, XAI, whatever you want to call it. I don't know which holding company XAI is in, what structure owns it. I think it's a privately held structure, so I don't think it's connected to Tesla, although, in practice it obviously is. We could yap about this all we want, but at the end of the day, this is the chart, okay, that OpenAI revenue news has helped Microsoft skyrocket. This earnings was pretty solid as well. This is Q1 earnings. A lot of companies did great on Q1 earnings, but notably, Microsoft actually had a positive earnings to Q2 earnings reaction. Did sell off here, but again, compared to some other companies, This is not a great example because Google had a great run, but I'm trying to think of social media companies that had poor Q2 earnings. Snap is an example of that, because there were a lot of companies in other sectors that had poor Q2 earnings. Reactions that weren't incredible. Chevron's not a great example because it just sort of chopped sideways. The example I always come back to is trade decks, because that's like the most extreme example. But in general, I know a lot of companies sort of went sideways, sort of did okay. Even Meta was one of the greatest ones, and it still sort of sold off half of it. So all in all, I think you have to say Microsoft Q2 earnings was not great, and now we're getting an opportunity to buy them, not based on their earnings, but on their ownership of OpenAI, which is I believe it is the highest valued privately held company in the world. Certainly the fastest growing, that's above 100 billion, and that includes Stripe. But that's the buy. Risk a few dollars, make 10, 20. If you risk $3, maybe you go for $30 a share as a target, but really, sell 10% of your position when you're up 5 to 10%. So yeah, that is about $30-ish. You get the idea? If you like these ideas, head over to stockscommunity.com. We are building a community. It is a new community. I want to caution you, these testimonials are real from folks who found success in the community. Excuse the music, here and here. Okay? Pretty exceptional testimonials. That's not necessarily going to be your result. However, those folks had good results. There's also just, it's a small handful of people there. Sometimes people will try a trial. You can try a trial. It's $25. Try it out for 7 days. But you get one-on-one attention, which is not going to be the case as this community grows. So that is the positive impetus for checking it out, joining. If you're looking for like a flurry of information, like a news feed that some of is probably highly dubious, this ain't for you. There are places where you can get that sort of feed, food. This is more curated and one-on-one. Check it out if that's your idea of a good time. And I will see you in the next one. Hit that subscribe button if you want to be notified.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.